Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Cory.
And I'm Matt. And each week this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, rev our engines, or just need a bit more conversation.
I'm very, very excited as the resident GM fanboy for this week's episode because we are talking all things General Motors.
We are indeed. And I am actually also probably not equally as excited, but excited because I get to rip apart GM for the next 45 minutes. So,
yeah, you're excited for all the reasons I'm not excited.
Yeah, basically,
You play the yin to my yang in this week's episode, but yes, it has been an exciting month, or I guess even year now, since we've entered 2021 for General Motors, and their plan is becoming more and more obvious. We've alluded to it in past episodes that they're going all in electric, and they've come out now and officially said, yes, this is our plan.
Yep.
Electric is the General Motors future. So much so that they have changed their logo for the first time since essentially the 60s. Major logo redesign, which if you haven't seen it, we've got a story up on gtgaragetalk.com. Yes, everything.
It's ugly. We'll just come out and say it. It's ugly.
I will agree. It's ugly. And I would say both my personal feelings and as I started reading all the comments online, the biggest problem most people had, at least my age and older, most people had issue with the fact that it's a lowercase g and a lowercase m.
Yeah.
And the connotation that brings, because for its entire life, since General Motors' inception, it has been two capital letters, General Motors, and it was bold and prominent, and it was a statement of who they were. And for a good chunk of their life, they were the world's largest auto manufacturer. A big bite in the butt came in the form of the early 2000s when they were cranking out a lot of product, but it was just product.
Yeah.
The unions got to them, this, that, and the other got to them, and then the recession and bankruptcy, and yes, we can get into all of that, but we're talking about their future, not their past.
Oh, no, the past will come up.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, that being said, I went on my computer and I did a little finagling with their current logo, and I fixed it.
You did.
And I shared it with you. I've shared it on several prominent posts that I saw complaints of the actual logo with my version. And my version takes all the same design themes that they were going for. They wanted a clean blue aesthetic, kept the font that they had. I just capitalized the G and extended the underline to go under both letters.
Right.
And I did nothing to the M. So the M font is one such that if you put a capital letter next to it, it looks like a capital M. You put a lowercase g next to it, it looks like a lowercase m.
Right.
And General Motors said in their press release announcing this new logo that the negative space of the M was supposed to look like a plug. So there's an underline under the M, which is supposed to embody the skateboard design of their new electric vehicles. And then that negative space in between that underline and the M was supposed to look like a plug because all electric.
They paid somebody to figure all that out.
Yeah.
They paid somebody way too much.
And in 15 minutes on PowerPoint, I was because I am not a graphic designer by any means, but I used PowerPoint to fix General Motors' issue, and I've gotten lots of comments on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Instagram to my fix of their mistake, which I did not come up with it. I just tweaked what they had a little, and most I have not gotten a negative comment yet.
Yeah.
Most people are either like they shouldn't have changed it at all, or if they're going to change it, I like yours better.
Way better. Yeah.
So this is not me patting myself on the back. This is me just saying it could have been so much better.
So are you going to sell your idea to GM when they come to you and say, hey, We really like the design that you made a lot better than the one that we paid this idiot to make.
No, because as they've said, they've gone all in, and they've gone all in with this logo, and they don't change their logo often.
I would say the good news is that they don't put this like directly on a vehicle.
I was just about to say the same thing. We're never really going to see it on a vehicle. It's really just like business to business.
Right.
People are going to see it.
It'll be on letterhead and emails and junk like that. But
there was a period of time, like 2010 to 2013, that they put it on every single
little
silver
chrome square on the But don't do that either.
And
GM, don't do that.
I do remember growing up, my parents had an Oldsmobile station wagon when I was really young with fake wood paneling on the side, and I remember the seat belts. They were the hottest get out metal seat belts,
and they had
the GM logo was the button. So,
but that was because it was the same seat belt in 37 different vehicles.
Well, they do the same thing now. It's just they're all plastic, and you can touch them in the summer in Texas.
Right.
I don't know what they were thinking putting metal seatbelt buckles like that. No, that was terrible.
Yeah.
So those are my two instances of really remembering the GM logo on any vehicle ever.
Yeah.
So, yes, historically, there's no precedent that you're really going to see this logo much as a consumer. So really, they spent a lot of money in focus groups and this, that, and the other, creating that weird thing that they actually came out with.
Right.
Yes, I like to pat myself on the back a little bit that most people like my version better.
I'm thinking you could pat yourself onto the back to the tune of like $100,000. That's pocket change to GM, and it would make everybody so much happier.
I would gladly take it. So, if you like my version better, just write a little letter to General Motors and say Garage Talk fixed it for you.
Yes.
Send them a link to gtgaragetalk.com where I address the issue. I believe I've got a picture on both Facebook and Instagram. I know for a fact I've got it on Instagram. So share that with them. Let them know. I think I tagged them in it. I'm not quite sure. I was a little scared too because I am taking their corporate logo that is registered trademark of the company, legal image,
right?
And I altered it to my own. So I'm like, what legal ramifications am I getting into by altering this and claiming it as my own? But I'm trying to help. I'm a GM fanboy.
Yeah,
my entire intent was to make something that more people saw and embraced as their own.
Right.
General Motors.
Yeah.
Now I will say
we do have a distant contact at General Motors.
Yes, we do. Yeah. So
I bet he knows some people.
He probably does. In fact, he likes it too. So.
See, I'm telling you, $100,000. Okay. $100,000, sign the contract, turn over your, whatever.
My PowerPoint file?
Yeah. You could email it to them. Here you go, $100,000, put it in my bank account.
So on LinkedIn, their official post announcing the new image is where I dropped my updated image with the caption, fixed it. And several current GM employees have liked it. Like, I think it's got 32, 33 likes, and most of those are current, GM employees. So I'm like, people are seeing it. The right people are seeing it.
And we're not going to share any names, though.
No.
Because, we don't want several people to lose their jobs over.
But it's on LinkedIn, so you can go find it if you're on said social media. But, anyway, so General Motors, with this announcement, also announced that they are going all in on electric. So that was the impetus to this new logo, this new brand identity, is to show that they are all in on electric. And I believe their phrase is everybody in, because everybody starts with EV, electric vehicle. Somebody's getting paid lots of money for this marketing.
Way too hard.
I'm telling you. But so I referenced earlier lowercase g, the lowercase m underlined, and the underline symbolizes a skateboard platform. The M negative space plug. Yeah, it's blue, and blue is electric vehicles. It has been. I don't even know who determines this. I guess Toyota did when they started using blue on the Prius years ago, and everybody adopted it because
Any of the sparks that I see from electricity are white.
Yeah.
So,
see a lot of sparks from electricity.
well, you know.
So, all right.
That's for a different episode.
Yeah. So enough boring logo talk aside. I've patted myself on the back enough. What does this actually mean, again, for the end consumer? Last week we talked about Stellantis and, bringing together of two major automakers to be, I believe, the fourth largest automaker in the world. So Toyota's first, VW is the second. I think General Motors is the third, and Stellantis would be four. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think, gun to my head, that's the ranking I would put them in. You're looking like you're Googling right now, so thank you.
Maybe.
But so last week we talked about Stellantis and what that big merger meant to the end consumer. So this week, what does this new corporate push of General Motors mean to the end consumer? Because ultimately, that's all we care about is how does this affect my life? And so, you and I have joked for the longest time, where has Chevy been in the full-size off-road truck war?
Right.
Because we've got the Raptor. Raptor's got serious competition in the TRX now, and the General is pushing the Trail Boss and the AT4. So nothing major. It's a Rebel and a FX4 now trimmer competition. Right. It's not the all-out off-roader.
You can say it, Cory. It's a cop-out. It's okay.
It's marketing is all it is. It's it's a Z71 with a 2-inch lift, and better tires. So, and how many Z71? Well, how many true off-roaders that buy a Z71 keep the factory tires on it anyway? Let's face it.
0.
Yeah. So, got that out
off
my chest. So, yes, it's all marketing, and we know from the ZR2 Colorado that the General can do a crazy off-road pickup truck.
Right.
They just aren't in the full-size market.
We have the technology. We can rebuild it.
But they aren't. And so they're sending this one out. Then the Bronco came out to rival the Wrangler.
Right.
And again, the General is sitting it out. And we're like, where are you? And then they roll out this $112,000 GMC sub-brand Hummer EV monstrosity of a all-electric truck that sounds awesome, but is too expensive and too far away from you and I actually getting to drive it that it's completely irrelevant in the conversation.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me as a GM fanboy.
I'm so glad you're frustrated.
Oh, it's cathartic to get this out. I am frustrated that, especially as a Chevy guy, more so than anything, that where is our crazy off-road competitor to the Wrangler and the Bronco? Where is our crazy off-road competitor to the Raptor and the TRX?
I don't know.
I don't get it. Trucks are where money is made, and the market is clearly hungry for off-road specific. Even if they never go off-road, the market is hungry for off-road themed, inspired, enticed vehicles that the General is just like, no, we're going electric. And I'm like, okay, I get it. So, the rumor has it that the Camaro is going to die its second death at the 2023 model year, which breaks my heart because the Camaro is what got me into cars. It's what made me a Chevy fanboy, General Motors fanboy. And because it's not all electric, it doesn't have a place in the future.
They've kind of fallen on their face with the design on the Camaro as of recent. It's
it hurt.
It's not great.
It hurt. They did an immediate 1-year refresh.
Yeah, they did.
And it was needed. I don't even remember the model year. I think it was a 2015, 16.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And
it was bad.
And
it's not much better now, but it is better.
It is better. As a lifelong Camaro guy, it hurts me that I've just lost, I don't want to say interest, but I'm not as invested as I once was because it has kind of gotten stale.
Yeah.
And Also, my life has changed a little. I'm
Oh,
a father of a almost 3-year-old, and life is different. I don't see myself buying a rear-wheel drive V8 manual transmission car for a period of time.
Yeah.
And by the time my life circumstances come back around to where that would make sense,
Right.
I don't think they're going to exist. So
Well,
I'm going to start dreaming about my 69 Z28 versus any 2000s and up Camaro, because that's what I really want in the first place.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway.
So Joe Rady of Rady's Rides, I caught at least a portion of a review that he did on a 2021 turbo 4-cylinder manual transmission Camaro that he found. And he did specify that he had to track it down and find that one. I did really like the blue, though. It was a beautiful color.
Yes.
But that seems to be more of the way that the muscle cars or the pony cars are going, is this 4-cylinder powered, and the cars are too big for it. The pony car segment is too big a car. It's too heavy a car to make the power to make it a competitive vehicle in the sports car segment.
I parked my 2012 40th anniversary SS next to a 67 back when I owned mine, and oh my gosh, it was just a crazy difference.
Huge.
And mine was designed to look like that first gen,
right?
But yeah, it was so huge. And yes, the market's going that way because, again, like I was talking last week when we were talking Stellantis and specifically Dodge, is Dodge, their bread and butter right now is putting a Hellcat engine in everything, 700 plus horsepower and everything. But in order to have the volume that they need to be a viable brand, they're eventually going to crank out some boring stuff. And it's just the nature of the beast because, every niche brand is seeking more money, and to get more money, you have to go more mainstream.
Right.
And, at some point, Dodge, as we know it now, is going to cease to exist, whether because they just crumbled because people quit buying crazy gas guzzling vehicles, or because they didn't adapt, or because they did adapt and now they're cranking out boring cars again.
Right.
I don't know what it is. I would hope that they always keep that crazy edge and they just electrify it. But
yeah,
that's me.
I was trying to track it down real quick while you were talking. The dimensions of, and I think it was the 68, 69, 70 Charger, the classic Dukes of Hazzard, the Charger that everybody wants.
Right.
The dimensions of it versus the dimensions of the revamped when the Charger or the Challenger came out.
Right.
And I know it's Charger to Challenger, but it's the same generic basis. It's a two-door muscle car.
Right.
Pony car kind of a thing. The new one, and this is memory from 10 years ago, so bear with me, but the new one is 6 inches wider and 3 inches longer.
That's insane.
Than the old one.
That's insane.
So the size of the cars that we're dealing with right now are just astronomical. Well, we've mentioned it several times, that the mid-size truck segment that we have right now would be the full size from 1990.
So just today, I saw a picture of the new Ford Bronco parked next to the last generation full-size Bronco, and it was practically the same size.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a 90s model Bronco versus the new Bronco, and they're practically the same vehicle. So anyone who says, well, my Bronco is full size, you're best of both worlds, yes.
Right.
It looks like the old small Bronco, but it's the size of the last big Bronco. Yeah. It's so, yeah. But we're here to talk about General Motors, and everybody's gone in. Right. Everybody in on this electric future. So
nope.
If this is truly the future and we're paying the price with no Camaro, no Bronco competitor, no TRX competitor, what are we getting?
Right.
So I will give them this. just like I'm a techie too, and I hope that some of our audience is and can relate to this. So just like Apple is not always the first to do something, they are like, we'll take 5G connectivity in phones. 5G the network is not ready for mass adoption yet.
It's horrid.
But with the iPhone 12, the infrastructure on the handset side is now in place, because with every single iPhone 12, no matter which model you got, they all have 5G connectivity. I will say, I saw a report, nine of the top 10 phones activated on Christmas Day were iPhones. Whether it was 12 Pro, 12 Pro Max, 12 Mini, or an 8 or an SE,
right.
9 of the top 10 phones activated on Christmas Day
were iPhones.
Wow. So when Apple does something like switch to 5G, they put the pressure back on
the
networks to say, okay, we've got all these handsets out in the world. The network needs to meet it.
Yeah.
And same thing with the adoption of, we'll take fingerprint recognition or Face ID. Anything that Apple does, they may not be the first to do it, but because of their scale, they change the market.
Oh, yeah.
So how that applies here and where I see this going with the General. So I looked it up. We were talking about the list of manufacturers. Toyota's the largest, followed by VWAG, Volkswagen, then General Motors at number 3. Actually, it's it was General Motors. They've dipped off. Now it's Hyundai Kia at number 3, surprisingly. And let's see. Toyota, VWAG, Hyundai Kia, then the General, and then Ford. So with the merger of PSA and FCA to Stellantis, they're going to dethrone General Motors as number 4. So the General's got to do something big, and the number 4 ain't no slouch. They're still cranking out tons of vehicles. So by this graph, let's see, 2017, they were making 7 million vehicles a year.
That's
so
crazy.
Like, that's a lot of vehicles. So all that rambling to say, when a car company the size and scale and scope of General Motors says we are going all in on electric vehicles, that changes the market drastically. Like 5G in iPhones is pushing the networks to get their act together and push out a reliable 5G signal. General Motors going all in electric is making energy companies and everyone else stand up and take notice. It's making you and I, the consumer, say, you know what, maybe I could get an electric vehicle, because the number of vehicles out there has increased. And I've always said, when Tesla's in the conversation, Tesla is hammered by guys like you and I, guys and gals like you and I, that say, yeah, but. And that but is usually their build quality and the company structure as a whole.
Right.
Because they are not 100-plus-year-old car companies.
Oh, yeah.
What happens when a 100-plus-year-old car company who has experience making reliable build quality, which General Motors has had some years where it has been questionable, but comparatively to Tesla, add on top of that their dealer network, their support network that they've got out there, you're taking away one of Tesla's main advantages. And now you've got a reliable EV that does not have the, but it has these huge panel gaps, or like my rear bumper fell off in this last rainstorm, or whatever.
But so far, like, I don't know. Dodge has, or FCA or Stellantis, whatever you want to call it, They have the fun factor that is the Hellcat.
Right.
Ford has the fun factor that is the Raptor.
Right.
GM
has the C8 Corvette. Hello.
Yeah,
that is their Halo car, and it's about to get crazier because their high-performance variants are about to be unveiled.
Well, it's about time because the C7, I firmly believe that GM got to the point where the engineers that they had on staff said, look, if you want me to make this thing perform any better than it does, we're going to have to put the engine in the middle of it.
They absolutely did say that. In fact, they released a documentary where they said that.
Right.
And we've got links on our website, gtgaragetalk.com.
So I disagree because the Viper from the early 90s.
But the Viper was always trying to kill you. And, okay. But who is the key Corvette buyer? 60-plus-year-old.
Sure. Right.
So
guys that aren't going to take it to the track and beat on it.
They're taking it to the golf course.
Right.
And a key design element of the Corvette was that it be able to get 2 golf bags for the 2 occupants in the trunk, the rear trunk, because now it has a front trunk.
That further solidifies my argument that GM has lost the fun factor. GM has lost that excitement that is the enthusiast.
I would say yes, but the C8 Corvette, because that car is crazy.
But you just said that the C8 is built around 60-something-year-old guys that are worried about going to the golf course. What's fun about that?
They did not want to alienate those people, but they also brought in a whole new crowd with this mid-engine Corvette. And granted, I only got to drive it up and down basically a parking lot road at Circuit of the Americas. That thing is crazy and insane. And
it looks like a Ferrari.
I'd say it looks more like if you squint just right, maybe a McLaren in the front, because I don't know, but
they've ripped the designs off of other views.
Right.
I think that's the biggest hindrance to GM going all in on the electric is that there is no fun factor yet. Right? Tesla started with the Roadster. The Roadster was incredible. It was fun. It was crazy. It was off the wall. Dodge has the Hellcat everything, unfortunately. Right. Ford has the Raptor, and they've got the Bronco.
And now the Mach-E.
And the Mach-E. And there's a fun factor element to the Mach-E. It's not just the fact that it's an all-electric vehicle, but that it's a GT all-electric vehicle. It's going to have over 400 horsepower. It can go over 400 miles on a charge.
So,
GM is missing the fun factor, and they're gonna further fall into the gray of the auto manufacturers. Even Toyota has started making fun Camrys and Corollas.
The RAV4 Prime too.
And RAV4, because they realize that the 1999 Toyota Corolla that everybody bought and everybody had, nobody remembers.
Right. So, yes and no. I will absolutely agree that their electric lineup, as has been unveiled to us, is lacking to the average consumer.
Yeah.
Because the quote-unquote average consumer now, as crazy as it is, can go out and buy an exciting Tesla Model 3 or Model Y. The average consumer could buy a mostly exciting Mach-E. To get the GT version you referenced, that's like $60,000. You're pushing it.
Any of the Teslas are starting up around that range too, aren't they?
No, you can get one for like 40 or something. But yeah, yes.
Either way,
you're spending a pretty penny. But yes, cars in general have just gotten ridiculously overpriced.
If you can afford to buy a new car, you can afford to buy a new electric car.
Right. So, unless you want an exciting General Motors product, because their exciting electric vehicle is watts to freedom on the Hummer EV, which in order to get that watts to freedom, you have to spend $112,000 on a vehicle that won't be ready for a year and a half, 2 years. So, yes, they're banking on the Hummer EV being the excitement, which it checks a lot of boxes. It has that crazy acceleration. It is a truck, and it can go off-road, and it's got some cool off-road features like
the gimmicks.
Yes, gimmicks. The crab walk where it can walk diagonally.
Right.
or the crazy lift system in it, where
8 inches of additional lift. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it checks a lot of boxes, but again, for the average consumer, what does the general offer that's exciting? Well, that's where we get into their involvement at CES, Consumer Electronics Show, which was all online this year, as were a lot of car shows over the past year.
Right.
And unfortunately may be for the foreseeable future. But we've got a series of articles from our friends over at Roadshow, and they compiled everything that General Motors announced at CES with this big push, because CES was basically their electric coming out party. They said, this is the new future of the General. This is what we're going to pump out. This is what you can expect from us. And so they released an image that was incredibly dark. And in the background, they had all the LEDs lit up, showing vehicles that we already know have been announced, that we've seen in the quote in the flesh as much as we can in 2020 and 2021, in the Hummer EV, and then the Cadillac Lyriq SUV crossover thing. So those are the two big things that we know the most details on from General Motors when it comes to electric vehicles. What was also in the background were two Buick EVs that we know nothing about, and we only really see a glimpse of in the background.
Looks like a Chevy truck in the background, too.
Yep. A Chevy all-electric truck, which has me excited.
Okay.
Because Chevy is everybody's brand in General Motors. And when Chevy has it, like, what are we bringing from the Hummer EV down to every man with the Chevy? So I'm excited about that one.
It better have a price point under $40,000, or they won't sell any of them.
You can't even get a gas-powered 4-door full-size truck for under $40,000 right now.
But that's
it's got to be under 50. I get what you're saying, but it's got to be under 50 because
of what they're doing with the Hummer. Like this is that Halo truck. The Hummer is the top dog.
Right.
If you're gonna bring it to the masses, it's got to have a reasonable price to it, and I say reasonable with all due respect, because $40,000 for a new truck is not reasonable. So
I agree. It's absolutely insane. Like I said, when I bought my full-size truck in 2007, it was as decked out as I needed plus some, and it's stickered for $37,000.
Yeah.
And to get a $37,000 brand new crew cab truck off the lot, it ain't got nothing.
Nope. It's a work truck.
Yeah, it is the work truck trim from Chevy. That is the trim. So yeah, there is nothing special about a $37,000 truck off the lot. Nowadays. So we've got, like I said, two Buick EVs, and then we've got.
Those are the ones out on the corners, right?
They are on the left side of the image behind the Lyriq SUV,
Gotcha.
And then on the right side you've got up front the Cadillac Celestiq. Which I don't quite understand. It's going to be their electric flagship. I believe it's going to be hand-built. It's going to have all their crazy technology in it.
Okay.
More so than the Lyriq, but it's a sedan.
Right.
I don't get where they're going with that one. Like, why not make the crossover that great? I'm very, very confused. But some of the things to note on the Celestiq is full glass roof, huge screens up front. Like, I believe the entire dash is going to be a screen all the way across. So, like, tons of technology in this vehicle. So you would hate it because it's more technology than it is car.
Well, I'm probably not going to care for any of these behind this guy in the picture here.
Right.
So. Yeah.
But the part that really has me scratching my head, it has not been fully announced, but the design language of it looks a whole lot like the Lyriq. It's just a big sedan. And I mean a big sedan.
Massive, yeah.
So think Mercedes S-Class or BMW 7 Series. It's going to be a big sedan. I just don't understand. Again, GM almost got it. Like, people are buying SUVs left and right now. They're not buying sedans. Even in the executive world, I drove a $420,000 Bentley SUV, for crying out loud. Bentley's making SUVs. Why the heck is Cadillac going all in on a sedan in this day and age?
I mean,
I don't get that one.
Of the 7 vehicles pictured, 4 of them are SUVs, and I know. One of them is Cadillac.
Yeah.
I mean, the SUV is there.
Right.
But yeah, I would agree. Why go unless it's going to be like a performance something?
It's
like the
an
Model
executive. Basically, it's an executive limo is what it's going to be.
Mm.
Like I don't get it. As GM fanboy, I don't get it. It does not make sense to me. And then last but not least is the Chevy Bolt.
That's the one over on the far right.
Yeah. And so they've been teasing it. I believe it's the next one we're going to see fully unveiled because it is the electric car for the masses right now. It was, I don't want to say rushed to market, but it was to compete with the Model 3 and be the sub $40,000 electric vehicle for the masses. The problem was it was ugly as all get out. I wanted to like it. I really did. Because here was the first full EV designed from the ground up, not an internal combustion platform that they just turned into an EV. It was a ground up electric vehicle from an established automaker. And by gosh, it was ugly.
Yeah.
And I drove one. It was fun to drive.
Mm-hmm.
It was not exciting to drive. It was fun to drive. Instant torque. Had a huge screen inside, touchscreen. It actually has a gauge cluster behind the steering wheel, something that no Model 3 or Model Y could claim. So, like, it felt like a car, but it was also all electric. I appreciated the effort and the direction that it was taking the company, but yeah, I was never ever in line to buy one, and I appreciate anyone who ever did because it's funding the better second gen, which we will see shortly. No details exactly on when we will see all of that, but yeah, that is the future of GM, the all-electric future of GM. So all brands are represented. GMC's got the Hummer.
Right.
Buick has the 2, it looks like they're crossovers. Cadillac has 2 vehicles. Chevy's got the truck and the Bolt. So they've got 4 brands. All 4 brands are represented here by at least one vehicle. Again, it's lacking the excitement.
Yeah.
Where's the passion in that? And
where's the all electric Corvette?
I guarantee you we'll see one soon.
Where's the all electric Camaro? Take the Camaro. You're going to kill the Camaro in 2023 anyway. Completely revamp the Camaro on the skateboard platform and bring it back as an EV.
I'd kind of like to see that, actually. Not going to lie.
There you go. So you've got your $100,000 emblem. I've got my $100,000 Camaro idea. There we go.
All right. Sign us up, General. We're ready to take it. So some exciting stuff that will trickle down. So the new Bolt EV, cheap EV for the masses from the General, is going to have Cadillac's Super Cruise technology in it.
Okay.
So to compete with Tesla Autopilot, which isn't really autopilot, it's a misnomer to even claim that it can fully drive itself. So semi-autonomous driving for the masses from somebody that isn't Tesla in an electric vehicle. It is an exciting prospect. So I'm liking where we're going. And the title of our second interview episode with Bryant Blakemore was Competition Breeds Innovation.
Yeah.
So I am very excited about what this is going to do to the electric market. That is where my excitement lies. Yeah. I am still very frustrated that my Camaro is dying a slow, painful death for the second time in its life cycle. I am very frustrated that there is no Wrangler Bronco competitor with awesome heritage names and history in General Motors
Yeah.
past, like K5 Blazer,
Uh-huh.
Blazer in general,
Uh-huh.
the Jimmy nameplate. Where is that? I'm very upset that the best full-size off-road truck we can get is a Trail Boss or an AT4. I'd love to have either, but I'm not spending my hard-earned money on
Sure.
either currently.
Right.
And I would rather have a TRX. I'm not going to say it, but
Say it.
no.
Say it.
No.
You would rather have a Raptor than a Trail Boss.
No, I'd rather have a 2500 with a diesel, actually, than a Trail Boss. I think that's the route I would go if I'm spending that amount of money, because then I could get a camper and explore the world of the United States.
Okay, but you'd still rather have a Raptor than a Trail Boss.
If my I don't have anywhere to off-road, so no.
Oh my goodness. Copping out just like General Motors.
No, I would buy an AT4 and I would make my own modifications to it. I'd get the 6.2 engine in it, because you can't get a V8 in a Raptor currently. I know the next gen is supposed to have one.
Yeah, we'll see.
But, they're all rumors at this point. I would go a hybrid approach between you and I would buy new and build up to a competition status.
That's an expensive hybrid.
Yeah, it is. But hybridification.
That's right.
Coined here on Garage Talk. So that leads me to ask you, Matt. Let me have it. We've talked about the future, and I haven't even gotten into what Cadillac is, really dreaming about future. I'm going to save that for just a moment. So I want to get your further thoughts on what we've talked about so far. Basically, no passion, no excitement, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that kind of sums up how I feel about it at the moment. General Motors, I feel like they're so scared to
take a risk,
to put something out there that might be fun. And
I think that really best explains everything that we've seen from them. Where is the risk? Where is the fun factor? Because outside of the C8 Corvette, where is the risk? That was a huge risk for the General.
Right.
Moving, because look at when they went from round taillights with the C5, was it, or the C6? C6 was the last one with round taillights.
Right.
So look at where they went when they removed the round taillights of the C6 and went to this oblong taillight of the C7, and all the backlash that they got from the shape of the taillights. So moving the placement of the engine was catastrophically different and a big risk if they didn't do it right.
Okay.
But I think they did it right in all the right ways. And again, I only drove one basically through a parking lot, and I loved every second. You could not wipe the smile off my face, and I cannot wait to get to spend more time with one.
Here's my issue with the C8. It's 10 years too late.
Really?
It's 10 years too late.
Interesting.
The C7 was awesome, especially ZR1, Z06. Like, you get one with a handling package and it's nuts.
Right.
But again, they were at the point where they couldn't get any more grip out of that platform, and they had to do something drastic, and they did. They could have done that C6 to C7 transition and been, I think, worlds ahead of the competition.
So here's me putting my business brain on, and also my history buff hat on. The C7, as great as it was a project that was ongoing through, before, during, and after the bankruptcy. So the fact that it ever happened at all is a miracle.
Oh, yeah.
Much less it was as awesome as it turned out in all reality. So the politics, the bureaucracy, and the sheer numbers of it's surprising that the Corvette made it through at all, and that we got what we got in the C7.
Yeah.
So the
Well-
C8 is super crazy and awesome, and yes, I want one.
Yeah.
So,
Through that same process, we lost what little bit of fun we had from GM
mhm.
by killing off of Pontiac.
Yep.
We had a GTO. We had the G8. We had
Right.
the G6 GXP. We had
Solstice.
the Solstice. We
My
had
gosh, I
some.
wanted a Target Top Solstice so bad.
Oh, I love those. Yeah. All the right curves in all the right places. I really, I feel like through the bankruptcy process, GM lost that.
That
A
love and
combination,
feeling.
yeah. I mean, a combination of several things. They killed off Pontiac, so they lost that excitement. They lost the desire to risk, and now they've stepped wholeheartedly into the EV realm, and I think
Which is a risk, but it has to happen.
but see, that's the thing. I don't think it's a risk because I think it's what's expected.
Right.
And again, when you do what's expected, it's not exciting.
Yeah.
So that's my GM has to do something exciting, or they're just gonna fade into oblivion.
The ultimate test will be how their stock price performs and how many vehicles they sell. Because I said it before, Dodge's current method of operation is Hellcat all the things, and it's fun and it's exciting.
Right.
But at what point have you exhausted your market and saturated your market to where now there's nothing new or exciting about Hellcat all the things? You're already bored of it. How long until the market catches up with you? And
I say maximum 5 years.
yeah, and
Maximum.
where does that brain go? Do they start pumping out boring vehicles because they just have to get vehicles on the road with the Dodge name on it? So,
Right. There's a fun phrase in the automotive realm that I think auto manufacturers really ought to consider, and that is the lifestyle vehicles.
Mm-hmm. That's what the Bronco is. That's what the
That's
Wrangler
what
is.
90% of the Jeep lineup is.
Yeah.
Is the lifestyle branded vehicles. It's the excitement. It's the there's as much utility to it as there is fun and funky and goofy type things. The Easter eggs with the Sasquatch and stuff like that. Like that's the lifestyle element to it. The Bronco and the Bronco Sport, those are going to be lifestyle vehicles because Ford already offers 4 different SUVs.
Yep.
They don't need another one.
Wow.
But this is a different type of vehicle. It's a lifestyle vehicle. I think if GM would come in with a lifestyle focused segment, it doesn't have to be a whole lineup, but maybe 1 or 2 rigs that would catch that audience, that niche, and they could do the goofy, wild, fun stuff with it.
Well, the automotive world, at least the realm that I'm peeking through, is clamoring for Chevy to do with the Corvette what Ford is doing with the Mustang and have a EV SUV Corvette. And they're photoshopping the Blazer and the C8 Corvette face on it and making it looks like a Urus.
I
A
think I
Lamborghini
just threw up a
Urus.
little in my mouth.
It looks like a Lamborghini Urus, but that is what they're clamoring for: is an
Wow.
EV 4-door Corvette crossover.
Again, that's the safe move.
Well,
it's not the exciting move.
It's what Ford's doing with the Mustang, but
it's already been done.
Right.
Ford's done it.
Right.
So
Right.
GM, what are you going to do different?
all right. So that leads us here. These next 2 vehicles are definitely a risk.
Okay.
They are definitely thinking outside the box.
Okay.
They're definitely not what you think of when I say the word Cadillac.
Okay.
first one is the eVTOL Air Taxi. Think of, it's a drone for one person. It is a one-person drone. It's 4 propellers. It's a glass capsule for one person to sit in and go from their meeting downtown to their meeting in the suburbs. Or from one high-rise to the next high-rise and avoiding the traffic down on the ground below.
Right.
It is described as more of a personal aircraft or drone than a flying car, but it is, GM is thinking, okay, electric is the future. What else is the future? How do we get rid of congestion? How do we get rid of emissions? How do we get rid of crashes? That was their big thing at CES, is a world of zero emissions, zero accidents, zero congestion, and
zero fun.
This thing would be fun, except I don't think you're going to be able to control it at all whatsoever. On top of that, it is purely a rendering on a computer. It does not exist in reality. The guy presenting it is standing in front of a green screen, and it's back behind him. It's funky. It's weird. It is just to show where General Motors is thinking to get investors. I can tell you that right now. It's like, look, we could produce this. We just need some money. This is how we are thinking. The next vehicle, I kind of hesitate there. The next vehicle presented also wears a Cadillac badge, and it is a self-driving vehicle, and it is meant to be just that. It is not a vehicle that inspires passion while driving. It is not a performance sedan. It is quite literally a box on wheels. I can think of no other way to describe it, but it looks like a very comfortable box on wheels. And it's called the Halo self-driving car concept, and it's a box on wheels. I can think of no other way to describe it. And like I said, we'll put links to all these articles in the show notes. So if you are interested in the future of Cadillac as presented this January 2021.
That's a green screen image too.
Yes.
It's not, it doesn't.
Neither one of these actually exists. There's not a concept that was shown other than these renderings. So it's interesting that they didn't even mock up a model of it. But especially this one. I can understand the flying air taxi thing, but this is essentially going on the skateboard platform that everything else has. Why?
Some aluminum panels and some fancy leather interior.
And it's a box on wheels. It's slab sided. It's glass and aluminum. Anyway. So these are definitely risks that the General is planning to take or is showing that they are willing to take.
Yep. And there's a big fat vacuum of excitement because it's non-existent. Self-driving is not an enthusiast thing.
So
it just isn't.
As we wrap up this episode, that leads us into the question for you, our listeners. And perhaps I'm asking the wrong people this question, but is passionate automotive piloting a thing of the past? Are gearheads a thing are we a dying breed? Is this the end? Does this signal the end as we know it? And does this show the end of passion in driving vehicles? Is this the beginning of the end for gearheads?
I really, 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 really hope not. I really hope not.
So, like I said, 2030 is going to be an interesting place to see where we are sitting in the automotive landscape versus where we are right now, because obviously electric is going to play a big future. Autonomy is going to be big in the future. And where does that take us? Let us know. GTGarageTalk.com. Hit us up. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at GT Garage Talk. We would love to hear your thoughts on the matter. And until next time, bye.